What's going on, guys? I'm TieFly85 and today we're talking why some theaters are refusing to play The Last Jedi. Let's get started. What's going on, guys? Welcome back into another episode of MG Nights. Now, before we go ahead and get started, if you do end up liking this episode, please go ahead and slap that like button. Also, too, if you're new here to the episode, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button with the bell notification on to make sure that you don't miss out, as me and TREC87 do post here every Monday through Saturday. Alright guys, let's go ahead and jump right into it. Now, why is it that some theaters are refusing to play The Last Jedi? It is kind of a very odd question, considering this movie is going to be so massive for Disney and for really any theater goers that are coming out, for the holiday season. It's going to be huge. So why is it that some theaters would be refusing that? Well, there's actually a really good answer behind why that is, and let's go ahead and dive right into that. Now, Lucasfilm's latest entry into the Star Wars saga is guaranteed to be a huge hit at the box office. So why would some theaters refuse to play it? Apparently, Disney's conditions for playing The Last Jedi at some theaters included unprecedented demands. Now, the House of Mouse has become one of the most successful studios basically on the planet, and are able to increase their demands for theaters that want to screen their films. And their demands for the Star Wars film is being called by theater owners the most erroneous they've ever seen, which I gotta completely agree with that. This is a little crazy going on here. Now, I'm sure you're probably asking yourself, what is it so far? Because you still haven't answered what's going on with Disney and The Last Jedi. So what is actually happening is Disney is requiring 65% of the revenue from ticket sales from the theater.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
That's up from 64% from Star Wars The Force Awakens and Rogue One. They're also requiring theaters to play it in their largest auditorium,
Winning,
for at least 4 weeks consecutively. While other Disney movies are normally typically only in that particular space for only 2 weeks, now they're forcing everyone in smaller theaters, even bigger theaters, that they have to show it on 4 theaters, all being big screens, for 4 weeks straight. So Disney's definitely banking on this movie making a lot of money. And it does look like a really amazing movie, but it almost seems like they're undercutting all of the smaller theaters. Sorry, I kind of got off track there. But if a theater were to break any part of this agreement, that increase would jump by 5% to a whopping 70%.
not today.
That means if the theater agrees to air the film on 8 screens for the first 4 weeks, but then drops one of them before that 4 weeks is up, because the tickets aren't selling and it's really justifiable for the theater to just kind of drop that, then they will be penalized for that, which I think is just a crazy, insane thing. Like,
you unlock this door with the key of imagination. Beyond it is another dimension. A dimension of sound. A dimension of sight. A dimension of mind. You're moving into a land of both shadow and substance, of things and ideas. You've just crossed over into the Twilight Zone.
why are you doing this to small theaters or even bigger theaters? Like, I used to work for a movie theater, so I know that they don't make a lot of money off of the ticket sales. So when you're taking their tiny little small fraction of what they actually make, then you're literally cutting them off, like, completely. It's just insane to me. I don't understand what's happening here. It really doesn't make any sense to me at all. Especially considering the fact that Disney is just so massive. Like, what do they need that much money for? I realize they're doing a lot of things right now as far as the Disney company, with a lot of theme park expansions and a lot of movies, and they are taking on a lot of responsibility, but to have it so that we can't physically go see the movie because of these things in certain parts of the United States, like, that just seems a little ridiculous to me, and I hope they figure this out before it becomes a really big deal, because I can definitely see that it is going to become a really big deal.
What did you say?
I'm sorry. Actually, what I said was, how would you like to suck my balls?
But the report states that studios generally only ask for 55%, up to 60% of the revenue for domestic screenings and about 40% for overseas. Now, these aren't the worst terms for large cities and big cities theater chains, considering Star Wars The Last Jedi is going to be a record-breaking hit. But when it comes to smaller theaters, in smaller markets, there's little incentive to play it. A small town with a 2-screen theater might not see the film with these exact conditions that Disney's demanding. If they're forced to keep Star Wars The Last Jedi for 4 weeks, an entire month, while other movies are coming out, I mean, they're going to lose money all the way around. I mean, they're going to get penalized from Disney, and they're also going to lose out on other revenue because they had to keep those. So it just doesn't really make sense overall. Like, I really don't understand what's happening right now.
Come on, children, don't be shy. Just give it your best shot. Yes, Clyde.
12?
Okay, now let's try to get an answer from someone who's not a complete retard. Anyone?
If any of you guys watching this do understand, please let me know down in the comments below. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. Overall, I definitely would say it's a very interesting predicament for a lot of these smaller towns, smaller chain theaters, and I'd say it definitely does not look good for Disney at all at this point. But given their status and their success in the industry, they might be the only studio that may actually get away with making these types of demands. Alright guys, well that's all I have for you today. Thanks for watching. Again, if you did end up liking this episode, please go ahead and slap that like button. And what did you think overall? Do you think Disney's kind of crossing a line there? Do you think that they should kind of step back and allow different terms for smaller theaters? I could see overall for bigger cities and bigger chains why they could pull that off, but for smaller towns and markets, I mean, that's just like a death sentence, honestly. Like, I don't see anybody actually doing that unless the town's like big enough that they're able to support 4 weeks of the same movie and losing out on a bunch of other movies. But if you guys do end up having any comments or anything to say on it, please let me know down below. I'd love to hear it. Alright guys, and as always, I've been TyFly85, and remember, stay awesome.
The disco ball pops, but I have to be me, and everyone can see your anger is misplaced.